All right, team, grab your seats and let's get underway, huh? Now, I promise we did get enough seats for everyone. We used a little bit of the budget and we got a seat for everyone to sit down. So did you want me to come up the back there and hold your hand and help you? No, you don't do that, do you? Hello. Nice colour choice. I like your colour choice, very much in keeping for today. Would you like to stand up so we can all see you? Natalie Taylor, so sorry. Natalie, you're the one person I haven't met tonight properly. I'm Christina. Nice to meet you. So I put my yellow shoes on. You've gotten the whole hog and got the yellow jacket. You've done one line better than me, obviously. All right, team. Good boys. Well done. So first of all, let me start off by saying a big hello and a welcome to each and every one of you for making it here to the Hyatt this evening to our Sundowner. So on behalf of the Energy Club of WA and the WA Mining Club, we are very pleased to see you all and that you've managed to make it out on it is Thursday, isn't it? We're Thursday? I've had a very, very busy few weeks. We've been filming a TV show called Innovation Nation, and a lot of the innovation has actually been in the mining and the energy space too. It's been really, really exciting. So I'm just coming to the end there, and they said, "Can you come and do this with us?" And I said, "Too right, I can," because it's always interesting what we're up to in the resources and the mining industry. And when I was told that the topic for this evening was to be uranium, I thought, you bet. I'm in on that one because to me, uranium is a really, really big topic. I love the fact that it's easily deployable. I love the fact that there's zero emissions. It's that baseload zero emissions. I think it's a conversation that we need to be having more about, that we need to learn more about, especially when we've got 33 other nations around the world who are having this conversation and they're already moving forwards with it. And we've got this great big resource here in Australia that we should be making a little bit of money out of. Is it $540 million I think we made in 2021? We made a lot of money out of uranium, but we don't use it. We are sending to other people to use. So there's lots of opportunities there. And I think the big thing that we need is we need more knowledge about it. We need more knowledge about the basics. We're going to start with the basics, Tim? Yeah. And Murray? So this is going to be number one in a series of discussions about uranium and nuclear energy, excuse me. So let's have a little think about this. Before I go any further into what the discussions are today, there is one thing I do need to do, or two things really. One is to acknowledge the traditional owners, the custodians of the land that we're meeting on today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I also need to let you know that in case of an emergency, what should you be doing? Don't stay here in the room because that could end very, very badly for you. So there's two signs up the back, green signs with exit on them. Please turn around and look at them for me just so I can acknowledge that you're listening to me. That's right. Well, if you've got eyes in the back of your head because you're a dad, that's fine as well. But head for those signs and also have a look out for our safety wardens. You'll also hear a big sound. Is there a problem with my sound? You want me to move to the lectern? What's your name?
Josh.
Tell me, Josh, why do you want me to move to the lectern?
Because you sound like a robot at the moment and we don't like that.
I sound like a robot because of the sound? We don't like that, Josh. That's very bad. Okay. Making it up. Is that better? Do we like my voice now? Do you want me to go back to the start and say hello, everyone, and welcome, or do you all get that part? All right. Is there any other bit that anyone in particular would like me to repeat? No? Okay. I could tell you some other good things. I could tell you the fact that 10% of the world's power is provided by nuclear at the moment, 10%. So there's potential for a lot more, isn't there? And I've been hooking into a podcast recently by a Canadian mob, the Uranium Podcast, and it's become my little thing while I do my run in the morning. And people look at me and think I'm a little bit sad. But I find it really interesting. So I know now about uranium and nuclear energy all around the world. Last year I hooked into lithium. And it's interesting, when I travel around, one of the jobs that I do is MC for different resources and environmental conferences around Australia and Asia. It was lithium, lithium, lithium for about 2 years, and uranium was sort of like this little side note that was just on the edge there, had its own little part in the program, so this little dirty thing that no one really talked about. And then all of a sudden, Murray Hill, it's got its own space in the program, it's got its own fireside chats in the program as well, and people are going, actually, if we want to make this zero emissions thing by 2050, as most of the big countries are doing, we need to look seriously at this dependable baseload, and that's why that discussion is going there. Anyway, let's talk more about this evening. So first up, we've got our housekeeping. I need to acknowledge these two gentlemen that I've been speaking about quite often. So Tim Duff, thank you so much. Tim is one of our speakers this evening. So Tim is the General Manager at Cameco. And we've also got Murray Hill, Managing Director at Elevate Uranium. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We look forward to hearing from you on this subject in just a few moments. I'd also like to acknowledge the President of the WA Mining Club, whom I've just met, Natalie Taylor. Thank you, Natalie. And also the President of the Energy Club of WA, Bernadette Cullinane. Thank you very much, ladies, as well, too. And Natalie and Bernadette are really pleased to continue this collaboration between two of the biggest sectors in Australia. And it's a really good opportunity for members to connect and collaborate and also to enhance sustainable development on the sectors within Western Australia. So this is why I like to walk around, because I'm a little bit vertically challenged. So standing behind here makes me a little bit less visible. You won't have that problem, Murray Hill, when you come up, but some of us are vertically challenged. I'd also like to acknowledge the committee of the WA Mining Club and also the governors of the Energy Club WA, as well as, and if you can stick your hands up, where are our Young Professionals Committee? Where did you all end up sitting today? Where are you? Oh, at the back in the naughty corner, just the one of you? Oh, two down the front, so there's two. Okay. Oh, do you not like one another? Is that why you're sitting so far apart? Is there something you said? No. All right. So we'd also like, this is a really important one, to acknowledge our sponsors, the WA partners and associate sponsors of both the Mining Club and the Energy Club of WA, who assist us continue to do such great work. So today's sponsors are Far Energy, represented this evening by Farlan Mohideen and Elliot Henry. And you're going to see Far Energy's video played throughout this evening, but I thought it would be nice to introduce Farlan up on stage to say a few words to you all. So if you'll be so kind and give him a warm round of applause, that would be wonderful.
Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, the true conquest is the conquest of the heart. While others speak of colonizing space, our vision is to ethically conquer and harness space resources using our advanced fleet of self-driving rigs, seismic drones, humanoid robots, and rocketry, the rocket engines we are developing. This project aims to mitigate humanity's battles over Earth's dwindling natural resources by tapping into the vast potential of space. In recognizing the often detrimental effects of massive egos in this industry, I have directed my own ambitions towards a goal that genuinely benefits us all. Together we can achieve a unified effort to responsibly unlock geothermal energy and mineral resources, providing abundantly for humanity as intended. Let's collaborate to turn this vision into reality, fostering a sustainable future and advancing human progress. So I think you should look at the video that is being played, which demonstrates our autonomous fleet. Undoubtedly, it is the greatest technology project in all of Australia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farlan. And our second sponsor this evening is the Minerals Council of Australia, represented by David Parker. Now, David Parker, the CEO, is not going to come up here and speak today. Instead, he has given us this wonderful video to play. So if I can ask you to look at the screens, please.
Transport, hospitals and education when Australian minerals do well. Australian minerals pay Australia's highest and largest amount of taxes, contributing 1/3 of all company tax collected by the Australian government, giving governments the money to fund priority needs like healthcare, education and infrastructure, both today and in the future. So Australia does well when Australian minerals do well. Authorised by T. Constable, Minerals Council of Australia, Canberra.
All right. One, two. How's that? Can you all hear me now with this one? No? You want me to go back again? Okay, fine. All right. If there's a third microphone, I'll try that one as well. You've just limited me back here. I like to walk around so I can see you all. This is a bit different for me. All right, let's move on to the main event, shall we? Before we go to that point, though, can I ask you all, please, to put your mobile phones onto silent? And if you do feel the need to whip those phones out, I hope it's to take a photograph and then to post them onto our socials as well. So make sure you keep other people abreast of what it is that you're doing and achieving and the knowledge that you're getting this evening. So when you go home this evening, you go into the workplace over the next few weeks, say, hey, I went to this fantastic event. It was all about education on nuclear energy, etc. You need to know more about it. We've got it live streamed up the back there. There'll be a recording of it, I would presume. So make sure you hook them into that first one, then get them back to, there's going to be a subsequent series of these as well. So we are diving into the growing demand for uranium to power a clean energy future and reduce pollution from carbon emissions. So the commodities fortunes are on the up, especially after the announcement from the US overnight that it was banning the importation of enriched Russian uranium for 2028. And even before that little morsel was dropped, there is the fact that many countries now see uranium as the key when it comes to meeting clean energy targets. So during last year's the World Climate Action Summit, which is in Dubai, there were more than 20 nations there who voted to not double, but to triple their power generation from nuclear energy, which is relatively substantial. So that pledge really recognises the key role of nuclear energy in achieving global net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So it is our role as a group to find out more, to learn, and we have two very well credentialed individuals to lead our discussion on the topic today. Tim Duff, GM of Cameco, and Murray Hill, Managing Director at Elevate Uranium. And you can submit your questions too, so you can see the code up the top there. So if you pop your phones up onto that one now and get a picture of that. I'll let you all do that one. You're very well behaved, most of you, except for that young committee member at the back there. Do you not have a phone? You've got a friend with one. Okay. So what we'd like you to do is submit your questions. So I won't be running around with the microphone, obviously, because the microphone's not playing ball with us, but also you can submit them and I'll read the questions out to our experts as well. So they're going to be sharing their insights on yellowcake, debunking some of the common myths and misconceptions on this topic as proliferated by the media, the uneducated who does a heck of a lot of doom scrolling, the Simpsons, all contributing to a lack of knowledge overall. And as I mentioned, one of the roles I have as an MC is travelling around talking resources and environment, and uranium really is. The discussion about uranium and nuclear is a really big part now of all these conferences that I am at. And uranium stocks have also soared in the last 18 months along with the spot price. One of our speakers in particular has a very optimistic projection of where they are headed. So without any further ado, let us begin. And in no particular order, our speakers this evening, number one is Tim Duff, the General Manager of Canadian Uranium Powerhouse Cameco. Please make him welcome.
I'm on my lapel. Thank you, Chrissy, and good evening. Let me just start by saying how delighted I am to be here with you all tonight. And I want to extend my thanks to both the WA Mining Club and the Energy Club of WA for hosting this event and having this series. As Chrissy mentioned and stole half my material, so I'll try to weave a few more things in. My name's Tim Duff and I'm Cameco Corporation's General Manager for Australia and have responsibility for the company's interests here, including the Kintyre and Yeelirrie projects. Let me see if I can. All right. I recently returned to Cameco thanks to an uptick in the uranium price. But in my previous role with the company, I was tasked with obtaining the environmental approvals for both our Australian projects. So I just thought I'd start with a little bit of background of the company, a couple of forward-looking statements, but not too much. So quick disclosure. So who are Cameco? So we're one of the world's largest uranium producers and a key player in the global nuclear power industry. Our vision of energising a clean air world is aligned with the world's growing need for low emissions, affordable and secure energy solutions. And we're known for our commitment to safe, reliable and sustainable uranium supply, and have been doing that now for over 35 years. Headquartered in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, we have operations globally and operate across the entire nuclear fuel cycle, from uranium mining to fuel enrichment, and most recently to nuclear power design and operations through our 49% acquisition of Westinghouse Electric Company in late 2023. As Chrissy said, nuclear energy already provides about 10% of the world's electricity from 440 power reactors. During the last few years, we have seen noticeable change in the state and prospects for the nuclear industry, and as a result of three main global drivers. They are electrification, decarbonisation and climate change, and energy security, which took centre stage in the wake of Russia's invasion on Ukraine. While those drivers certainly created some very positive tailwinds, we saw even greater shift in 2023. Not only did we see the momentum continue and build, but we also saw a very distinct urgency across the globe to rise up and meet those significant challenges we face as a society. We saw the urgency not only in increasing demand for Cameco's products and services, in our presence at several high-level meetings where the future of nuclear energy and its critical role in meeting net zero, climate change and energy security goals were discussed. One recent example, as Chrissy pointed out, was the COP28 conference in Dubai last year. This was the first time ever that nuclear was invited to the COP conference, and it took centre stage. Over 20 countries, 120 companies, including Cameco, committed to tripling the amount of nuclear energy and tripling uranium in the world by 2050 to combat climate change through the Net Zero Nuclear Initiative. This kind of attention was just unheard of for our industry. And then most recently at the inaugural Nuclear Energy Summit held in Belgium in late March, over 30 countries pledged their support for the critical role of nuclear power in ensuring a sustainable, secure, clean energy transition. To see numerous national leaders, heads of state of industry, industry leaders in attendance at the summit was outstanding. And it was another tangible example of the magnitude of where the nuclear industry is at today and where it is going. While historical support for nuclear has varied over the years, the industry is certainly seeing more than just a moment of support right now. On the supply side of things, we are already seeing a shortage with significant uncertainty around geopolitical and trade policy risks, ongoing transportation issues in and out of Kazakhstan, underinvestment in existing and new mines, coupled with declining secondary supply. In addition to this, on Tuesday night, the ban of Russian uranium by 2028. But what's not factored in here is if Russia say, you can't have it now. What about Australia? Australia has the world's largest uranium resources, a long history of mining it since 1954, and with 3 mines currently in operation in South Australia. With our vast resources, there is no shortage of the opportunity for Western Australia to capture a significant market share and build a new vibrant industry for decades to come. It just makes sense. We like to say in WA that we have one of the best resources jurisdictions in the world. We are endowed with many of the key resources needed for the global energy transition. Our leaders say that we have an obligation to help the world and our neighbours decarbonise. But despite this, and the fact that we are seeing growing nuclear support in the community, We have a ban on uranium mining at a state level and a moratorium on nuclear energy nationally. While a minority, the opposition is vocal and influential. You only have to read the recent updates in the WA Labor policy platform to appreciate this. Page 145. Prior to the change of government in 2017, these 4 mines received approval in Western Australia. The incoming government did make commitments that these 4 projects would be allowed to proceed. However, only one project, the Mulga Rocks project, is currently in a position to advance to the next stage of development. In summary, WA is a global energy powerhouse. Our uranium opportunity builds on that reputation, allowing us to further support our partners' decarbonisation goals and provide ethical, sustainable energy for decades to come. Developing a uranium industry will unlock new, long-lasting export industry, diversifying our economy and driving growth for decades to come. Thanks for your time. I look forward to the panel discussion. I'd like to hand over now to Murray Hill from Elevate, who's going to continue this. Is that the same?
Chrissy, can you see me? Shorty? Our name and our tagline says it all, and my tie says it all. Yellow, elevate uranium. We're very proud to be in the uranium industry, and our tagline, carbon-free energy. That's what we're all about. I've been CEO for 12 years, 12 years yesterday, actually. CFO's been there for 7 years. So we've been through some hard times. When the uranium price is sitting at $20 a pound, I was being paid in shares trying to keep the company going, and Coles and Bunnings wouldn't take my shares. And the government wanted me to pay money for getting paid in shares. It was like I had to pay to work for the company. So yeah, it's been a tough gig, but gee, it's nice to have our time in the sun, Chrissy. And you've introduced me at a few conferences lately, and it's fantastic. And you said that, you know, what was it, 2020, March 2020, we had a market cap of 3 million. Today, we've got a market cap of 150 million. So yeah, certainly had some nice growth. Pity ComSec crashed when I was trying to buy them at 2.5 cents. I'm a metallurgist by profession, and I look around the crowd, and I don't need to tell a lot of people that because most of them know me. And I am the champion of the upgrade process. So let's just run through a little bit about who we are and what we do. Exploration, 2 Tier 1 jurisdictions, Namibia and Australia. We've got 152 million pound of global resources. We've got an extensive and diverse project pipeline, particularly in Namibia, and we've got a patented beneficiation process we developed in-house to lower the cost base by in the order of half, to develop capital and operating costs for these projects. And we're aggressively drilling. We've just hit 5 rigs in Namibia, drilling 25 holes a week each, 125 holes coming out of Namibia per week. We've made 4 discoveries in 4 years. Our peers went and bought their resources. We've gone and discovered them. So we're in a different position to them. We've got a pretty good team, well led. And we're strategically located in Namibia and Australia. And I mean, we all know what uranium's like. It's a fantastic commodity. So just a snapshot of where we are. Some of you may not know where Namibia is. It's amazing how many people can't even say Namibia. My wife certainly can't say Namibia, but Namibia is a fantastic jurisdiction, one of the best countries in Africa alongside Botswana. Our CFO went there for the first time last year and called it Africa for beginners. So it's a great spot to be. Just took our new general manager of geology there and had a good time. So assets there and also in Australia. So why Namibia? Well, you just heard Tim. I don't need to say anything else, do I? The sovereign risk for Namibia is less than WA. WA is the powerhouse in mining in the world. How bloody embarrassing is that, right, for the Cook government? We're the powerhouse, and the sovereign risk in a third world country is far less than it is in Western Australia. That's pathetic. So Namibia have been producing uranium since 1976 on a continuous basis. Rossing's the largest continuously operating uranium mine in the world, 48 years. That's 2 generations of people familiar with uranium. Not woke, but very familiar with uranium. There's been 3 uranium mines built and developed in the last 16 years, and there's been 2 mining licenses granted to our peers in December last year. So there's a history of uranium. It's the only country in the world has a dedicated uranium association. The Namibian Uranium Association come to the conference in Adelaide, uranium conference, every year, well, not every year, but every now and again, and present on what they do, what the model is for Namibia. So a great jurisdiction to be in. And we're the largest tenement holder. So if you add up Bannerman, Paladin, Deep Yellow, Orano, Rossing, Husab, add them all up, their ground combined is less than ours. So we're in a pretty good position, and we're about to employ our 10th geologist in Namibia to justify what we're doing over there. Australia, well, Western Australia is what do we call it, Tim? Basket case in terms of the labour. They're option plays for us, really. Western Australia is an option play. If they change the ban, then they certainly become viable for us. But we're focused in Australia on the Northern Territory for obvious reasons. A lot better jurisdiction to be in, and we've got some assets there. So upgrade is a process we developed in-house. It's I'm the champion of it, being a metallurgist. And what it is, it's a breakthrough beneficiation process where we reject greater than 95% of the mass from prior to leaching. So it's commonly used unit operations you find in a base metal gold mineral sands plant, and we just configure them unconventionally. And what we do is we actually concentrate the gangue and reject it. That's unconventional, right? Counterintuitive, so hence it makes it patentable. So that's what we're about. So the big benefits for us is that we've taken the low-grade Marinika project from 93, recorded 100 ppm to 5,000 ppm prior to leaching. Angela deposit in Northern Territory, high acid consumption. When the big boys had it, Cameco and Paladin, weren't sure what to do with it. Little old Elevate comes along, reduces the acid consumption by 80% in 4 bench scale tests, and nobody optimises it. So we've got optimisation to do. Sorry, nobody optimises in 4 bench scale tests. We've got more work to do on that. Reduces the CapEx, OpEx by 50%, provides optionality. So it's like a Kindle base metal operation. You can take your concentrate elsewhere. And it provides us a lot of development pathways for our projects. ESG, we could have 10 slides on ESG, but we've got so many other things to talk about, we don't talk about it. But you can imagine only taking 5% of your, less than 5% of your acid through a built-up area is one of the benefits. So huge benefits for us, and it's really what we developed our company on. So Tim's mentioned this, but I'll mention it again, and we'll talk a lot about this. Electrification is huge around the world, and the more electrification you have, the more energy do you need to feed it. So where's that energy going to come from? We want carbon-free energy. We're all putting out these claims of wanting net zero by a certain date. Good luck with that. But we'll see what happens over time with that. But certainly nuclear is going to play a very, very important role in that. So I won't back too much more on that. I'll bring up the shortest person in the room, and hopefully your microphone's working. So it's my pleasure to introduce you. While you're walking up, you can look at Namibia. Look at Coppy's project in Namibia. Look how beautiful it is.
1, 2, 3. Oh, it is working. Sadly for you, it is working. Sit down. Would you like to come and join us, Tim? Will I sit on one? I'll sit in the middle.
I'll sit in the end.
I'll sit in the middle.
A rose between two what?
Okay, you can see me now? That's good, isn't it? Right. Namibia.
Yeah, it's
means
good, isn't it?
vast land.
Is that what it means?
Vastest population. It has the biggest population of free-ranging cheetahs.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But we're more interested in nuclear, obviously. All right, let's start with you, since you're not frightened with holding back with what you really think. Why are we scared of nuclear?
I suffer from a disease called honesty, you know. Look, where we come from is Hiroshima, Nagasaki, right? World War II. That was death and destruction. That they were aiming to achieve. And then you move along to 3 Mile Island in 1979, 0 deaths from that. Wasn't even any emissions. It was just the threat of it. Chernobyl, 1986. You know, if I walked around the room and asked you how many people died in Chernobyl, you'd say thousands and thousands. Have it on good authority. Jerry Thomas, who's the professor, and I have to read this, professor of molecular pathology, at Imperial College in London, one of the best colleges in the world. She was anti-nuclear, went to Chernobyl, did a lot of research. She said, how many people died? I said, don't know. She's thousands. She's 24.
It's funny
24.
because when Liz Hayes did her 60 Minutes piece on it, it was terrible, awful, dreadful. Remember Liz Hayes
Fantastic,
doing her piece on it?
fantastic
Yeah.
animal population. She
Yeah.
said, look, there's probably another 160 people die of thyroid cancer over the 40 years. Fukushima 2011, we were told there was thousands killed, right? The backup power supply was underwater, right? So we couldn't take, nuclear is producing, heating up water, producing steam, it runs steam turbines, much like coal does, right? Produces heat, runs steam turbines. You couldn't take the heat away. So, and if all those kids that went to university, when the water goes to water goes to gas, it's 22.4 times its volume. That volume's got to go somewhere. So where did it go?
Is
It
he
blew up.
correct there, William? Is that right?
Yeah, don't need to check it.
I
because-
think the
no fact checking.
engineering
No,
students down there.
no fact checking.
Okay.
So 15 to 20,000 people died from a tsunami generated from an earthquake. 0 people died from radiation poisoning. So was it a nuclear disaster or was it a natural disaster? Why do the media call it a nuclear disaster? No one died. In fact, someone said to me recently, it's actually the opposite. It's a fantastic case for nuclear because no one died. So I asked you to sing this song for me, 1975, Skyhooks, horror movie. What's that song all about? It's about the 6:30 news. So the media are the worst thing that happened to us. All they want to do...
That's why I just brought up the Liz Hayes piece on 60 Minutes.
Oh, sorry, you work for the media, don't you?
I did.
Oh,
I do.
sorry.
No, I do. Now I do nice
that why
things.
you
I do
wouldn't-
innovation
is that why you wouldn't
and
sing the
travel
song?
now.
Oh.
Innovation, travel, food,
So,
resources.
so according to the media, every nuclear power plant is capable of killing people. But, you know, look up there. Why are we scared? So look at the radiation you're getting, right? A flight crew flying annually internationally gets 4 millisieverts per year. A uranium miner gets half of that, right? So if we developed a project in Namibia and I flew there regularly, I'd be the most radiated person in the company. 7.8 millisieverts in Cornwall. Why is that higher in the UK? Because it's granite. Grand Central Station in New York is the highest emission of radiation, right,
Where's that
around.
coming from?
Granite.
Oh, granite.
Granite. So, you know, we're all worried about, and go for a CT scan, right? That's 5 times as much as you'll get in a bloody
What about
annually
that?
from a uranium mine.
What about that little seed that fell off the back of the truck or whatever happened last year? We loved that as the media.
Horror
We were
movie
searching
right
for
there
that
on my TV. So, look, there's really not much to be scared about. It's the media hyping it up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't work for them anymore. Okay, do reminder that if you would like to ask a question, you've got that Menti there, so make sure you do. All right, I'm still going back to him because the boys said they wanted their questions in order.
Oh.
So if you want to jump in, you can go out of order, but in order, we're going back to you, Mr. Hill. So where is future demand for nuclear energy coming from? Or future energy demand in general coming from?
World population growth, right? Third world countries like Namibia, everybody wants their mobile phone. A tin shack's got a bloody satellite dish on it, playing a TV. They all want power, right? They all want to use data centers, AI. I mean, AI are having to locate their facilities right next to a power source. They're enormous consumers of power, and we're building more and more AI.
One of the stories we did for the Innovation Nation for the TV show was on Pawsey, and Pawsey is the supercomputer that's here in Western Australia, and that uses every day the same amount of power and water as the city of Stirling. It's one computer, and we're going to have more of those supercomputers, and eventually quantum computers, which are even bigger, which will be bigger users of energy.
AI.
And everything we're doing now on our phone has some sort of an AI application. Most of the advances we have an AI application, so we need to power it.
The AI processing is, I think, 10 times more than just normal computer processing. So,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So, and the other thing, right? EVs, the batteries, right? So, don't get me started on it, but generally the people that own EVs are anti-mining. Generally, I know there's probably a couple of EVs in the audience, and I don't want to offend you too much. But do you
Did
recall?
they ring you on their battery, with their lithium-powered battery, to tell you that?
Yeah, they probably did,
probably
and I
did,
probably
yeah.
took it on my lithium-powered battery.
Correct. Yeah.
So recall 5 years ago, BMW said that they were going to have all cars manufactured by 2025 were going to be electric. Have you heard them lately? They've gone very quiet. Hertz have just sold over 30,000 EVs out of their fleet for a good reason, right? I just want to let you in a secret. Batteries store energy, batteries discharge energy. Batteries store and discharge. Batteries don't generate, right? You've heard me say it before, right? So the more batteries that we have, the more energy we need. So it just goes without saying, we're just going to need a hell of a lot more. So when you look at reliable
And
baseload,
you actually have to clear up there too. It doesn't matter how many solar panels you have or how many wind turbines you have. You're not going to be able to generate enough power for them. And to make the solar panel, you need energy. You need to dig up more stuff to put and this is what I think was fascinating. Do you remember how many tons of concrete is it you need, which is one of the dirtiest things in the world, you need to put at the base of a wind turbine?
yeah, it's enormous.
It doesn't.
Then go and put it out in the ocean, you need even more. So, I mean, coal's doing the job now, right? Doing a fantastic job. And will nuclear replace coal? No, nuclear will supplement coal, right? We're very smart in Australia. We're planning to shut down our last 24 coal reactors, coal-fired power stations, while the rest of the world are building 1,600. Really? I mean, are we the smart ones? Are we the stupid ones?
Well, the comment is made that we've got all these former coal-fired power stations, which are there ready to be turned into these small reactor type situations. We could just hook up to that grid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
SMRs are the future.
Yeah, SMRs are the future. Maybe,
small
perhaps.
modular reactors.
Put your questions through. I haven't got anything from you at the moment. And if you'd like something to drink, just chuck your hands up too, because our staff are walking around. So please don't sit there and think I'd like something else to drink. You're more than welcome to have a drink while we have our water, and think logically down the front here. So why nuclear? Did you cover off on that? Why you think nuclear is going to be the...
Why nuclear?
Why nuclear? And so you to supply the energy.
We still haven't covered off on why nuclear. We need baseload energy.
Yeah, baseload energy.
Industry needs reliable baseload energy. If they don't have it, what's going to happen? I was in South Africa in February, and 41 degrees out in Pau, and at 4 o'clock, the air conditioners go off because the power's gone off. What you find is that houses aren't designed to run without air conditioning. So they all got a nap. The power's going off in what time? So 3 times a day it goes off for 2 hours. Load shedding, because they just don't have the power. So the more AI centres we have, the more power we need. If we don't have it, we've got a problem. So Rick Rule quotes, the world has spent $5 trillion on alternative energy sources over the last 40 years, and our reliance on fossil fuel has dropped from 82% to 81%. I mean, really. And then you look at blokes like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's no bullfed, right? That's what he says. For example, on wind energy, we get tax credit if we build a lot of wind farms. That's the only reason to build them. They don't make sense without the tax credit. So the renewables industry is being propped up by governments, right? And Australia talk about energy independence. What does energy independence mean? Yeah, we've got lots of sun, we've got lots of wind, but mind you, when you go outside tonight, I'll challenge anybody to tell if the sun's shining, because you won't get any solar energy. So what happens, right? So 84% of the world's solar panels are manufactured in China. So are we really got energy independence? No, not at all. So I'm sorry, Chrissy, but renewables don't cut the mustard. 25% of the time they're efficient. The rest of the time they're not. So you have to build a backup system. So you're building 2 systems, double the capital. And then when you look at France versus Germany, right? Germany's going away from nuclear. France has embraced 75% of their production of energy comes from nuclear. Carbon emissions in Germany, carbon emissions in France are 10% of that in Germany. Electricity costs in France are half that of Germany. So that's a bit of an example. If we push down, and Tim, you sent me that speech from Tim O'Brien yesterday, and he was talking about, having a go at the Labor government and what we're doing with renewables. If we go down that path, our industry is going to disappear because it's not reliable energy. Our energy costs are going to go up. Where are we going to end up? We're going to end up as a third world country.
We've got a question through for you, Murray. How do you convince the current Australian government that renewables don't work? How do you do that?
You can't convince anybody based on fact, because they're not dealing with fact. They're dealing with emotive issues and illogic. You try and argue someone that is so set in their ways that you're wasting your time. I've walked away from some arguments because you can't get anywhere. So dealing with a government that just won't listen, bloody mind it.
So which is why it's best for all of us to be educated to then...
We've got to attack in numbers.
So what does Australia have to do to enable nuclear power legally?
Yeah, that's probably a good question for Tim, isn't it?
Well, that
What do
one?
we need to do?
Well, I think the 2025 election next year at a federal level is going to be key, really. If we want nuclear to be part of the mix by 2050, then we need a change of government, really. I can't see us convincing the current government and the current energy minister. But
So you can quote examples of Germany and France comparison. You can talk about California and how bad they've gone. They've got the highest unit power costs in the US, and their reliance on renewables is the highest. I mean, the facts are there. So why can't the government listen? Because they don't want to listen, right? Their agenda isn't to listen.
Let's ask Tim a question.
Sorry,
Ask Tim a
do you want me to
question?
shut up?
Just because he's had
Do you want me to
quiet.
shut up?
I
Is that what
think
you're trying to
we should
say?
shut up for a minute. Okay,
just to add to that point
Yeah.
as well, Australia, well, the government, the opposition were there, but were absent at any of the COP meetings, any of the discussions regarding nuclear. They were not in the room, so they had the opportunity to join those and listen, but we're absent at a world level anyway.
Question for you. When will we finally see an operating uranium mine in Western Australia?
Got to be careful because I've got a board member from the company that's most likely to have the first operating uranium mine in the room. And so the Mulga Rock project has, as far as we know, and there's probably still a little bit of doubt if you read the updated Labor policy statement, but yeah, that's got the approval, it's got the green light. Unfortunately for us in Western Australia, the company has another asset in Namibia that's very attractive, so they're focusing on that one first, but they have commenced definitive feasibility study for the Mulga Rock project. I think it's due to finish sort of mid next year, then head into final investment decision, and at the moment they're planning first production 2028. So not too far, but
Toro was jumping up and down today. Did you read the stuff on Toro mining?
I missed that one.
Missed that one?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
They
You've
can
got.
jump up and down all they like. There's nothing going to happen.
They're never going to happen? Okay, fine.
Well, it's not going to happen. It's not happening. It's in the same situation as Tim, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We've got to get a better
Yeah,
government.
so I alluded to it before, but the other mines in Western Australia, well, all of them had a clause within their approvals, and it's a standard clause within ministerial statements that they must meet substantial commencement within 5 years of receiving that approval. And we did not meet that. And as a result, we wrote to the minister at the time, we asked for an extension to that clause, which is normally pretty standard practice, but we didn't get that extension.
Well, surely if they're blocking you, though, there should be some sort of a...
Yeah, so the approval is still valid,
Yeah.
but we need an extension to that clause before we can proceed with the project as it's approved.
All right, let's flick through some of your questions. So do you think that the nuclear energy equipment will not come from China in the future like anything else? Now, do you mean that? Do you think nuclear energy equipment will come from China in future like everything else? Is that what this person meant? Nod your head quietly.
Did you know we've got a nuclear reactor in Australia?
Pardon?
We've got a nuclear reactor in Australia, in Sydney, at Anstow,
Yeah.
Lucas Heights.
One, yeah.
Yeah, on medicine, Argentinian designed.
Well, they're asking if it's coming from China.
Argentina's not China.
No, it's not. In the future, like everything else, will it come from China with the uranium that we're sending them under was it 2006 we signed that agreement with them? It's 2006 to take our uranium as long as it was used for good purposes. Not to
You've probably
bomb
got
it.
that.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
anything terrible.
I trust you with that
All
one.
right, we've got no answer for that one. Next question.
It's going to come from somewhere. It's not all going to come from China. I mean, the French are big into it, right? Arano, a former Areva, they're nuclear reactors. But yes, there's a few Chinese companies.
What are the stats on how many nuclear reactors China is building at the moment?
I hear 10 a year.
Yeah, 10 a year. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah.
It's massive. And they need to be fueled by something as well. It might be Russian, or maybe they'll take all the Russian stuff. Anyway.
The South Koreans have also jumped into it recently, and they built the last 4 reactors in the UAE, South Koreans. So there's definitely diversification within that construction.
So Hinkley Point in the UK has blown out to $92 billion. How will it ever be commercially viable to have a nuclear power sector here in Australia when other forms of power generation are cheaper?
Yeah, I mean,
Capital.
issues with nuclear are a major point in the reason not to have it. I think it's not a reason for a ban. It should be assessed on its merits, and Hinkley Point C is one case. If we look at the UAE that just built 4 reactors, they did not have any nuclear program until 2008. They signed up and wanted to investigate. From 2008 until earlier this year, they've built 4 reactors within the one site and now provides about 20% of their power. So they went from no nuclear capability at all the way to 20%. And people will also talk about how long it takes to build and how long it'll take for Australia to have one. We already have a very capable nuclear industry. As Murray said, we've got ANSTO reactor south of Sydney, 30 Ks. We've got some really good regulations in place. And so we've got the ball rolling.
But the capital spread over 80 years, 80-year life, and they're extending them to 80 and even potentially beyond. Whereas renewables last, 15 years? Right?
Just about the battery? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the wind turbine, we're talking about the solar panel.
They bring
right?
it down. And you have to put some oil into the wind turbine as well.
Yeah, but if the government aren't going to fund it. Private enterprise is going to fund the nuclear industry in Australia. So Bowen can say what he likes, but the government aren't going to they don't fund coal and other energy sources now, apart from throwing money into renewables.
But they're all jumping up and down now with gas because we now don't have enough gas to cover the shortfall. Yeah? Don't go there? All right, fine. Well, if these guys did it in 18 years or less, surely we could get our act together. Or it was 16 years. That'd take them 16 years. And funnily enough, they've got a lot of desert there. They could have used solar.
The largest reactor
That's
in the world.
sarcasm. I got it from him. All right, next question. My question is, what is the capex even for a small modular reactor, gentlemen?
So do we know what small modular reactors are? I mean, small modular reactors vary from 3 megawatts to 300 megawatts. So let's talk about what they could do for Western Australia. Imagine you're sitting at Nifty or one of those copper operations and you're trying to produce copper and you're using electrowinning and you're paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour. Someone says, we've got an SMR and you can have your energy for 7 or 8 cents a kilowatt hour. Imagine the value add, just of that example, but value add all through the mining industry, remote sites, enormous value add. I mean, some of the best quality water we've got is out in the goldfields, right? So north, like Leinster and further north, it's beautiful water. So if we've got energy out there, you can sustain different industries, agricultural, mining, even towns out there. So it's pretty important. So SMRs are, I think, going to play a huge role in the future. They're being developed now, but the US have got 99 ships and subs in their nuclear fleet, right? They're almost what a SMR is. So they're pretty much, I'm surprised it's taking as long as it is to develop. So
sounds like a person about to build something that you could monetize.
They didn't have a bet with me, so I'm not sure I didn't get any out of it.
This question keeps coming through, but I'll ask it again. When will WA legalise uranium mining? And you pretty much mentioned it will be when we get a new government.
Hang on, let me record this.
Okay.
I want to hear what he says.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
I just direct people to read that policy statement. It's been a long history of Labor being anti-uranium, so it's not going to change overnight.
This question is an interesting one. So we're here to educate ourselves on what happened, what the process of uranium mining is as well. So could you please comment on the environmental impacts of uranium, extracting uranium? What are they and how are they mitigated?
Mitigate?
Yeah.
Well, so
it's a big word that they use.
Interesting, right? Our deposit in Namibia is low. One of our deposits in low grade. I was sitting in a lab in Perth 12 years ago, doing some test work, and we put the radiation meter up onto the prefabricated concrete wall and put it back on the sample, the concrete wall was a higher radiation level. So what are we worried about? So the granite is producing a lot of radiation around. In fact, one of the issues we have...
People are still going to ask you that question. So someone goes to mine uranium, what are the bad byproducts? What are the naughty things that are going to happen? That's what you have to get the general population. You have to remove that concern for them.
You have to remove the concern because the concern isn't real. You've got to.
You know that. You know that. My mother doesn't know that. Let's go for Great Auntie Flo down the road. She doesn't know that. She's got this preconceived notions from these naughty people in the media and The Simpsons. So how are you going to? What do you tell them? This is actually the fact. So what are the things that are coming out of uranium mining? I'll go down.
Well, it's for us. It's a mining operation. If we get going, it's a mining operation that will reduce the dust, right? To ensure that we don't produce too much dust and produce uranium in the dust. Once it's wet, then there's no problems. I can stand over the top of a drum of sodium diuranate and not have any radiation. I mean, I stood there. I stood there at Tricopy and took a photo of this drum, and the drum's open right there.
I still want to know if you had a full head of hair before you did it.
I've been married for 26 years. I had bloody hair before I started that.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Here's another question for you. What about the economics of nuclear at $250 to $350 per megawatt hour? How do we afford this? And is this accurate?
I don't know where to start with that one.
Sorry, say it again.
Is it accurate? Who asked the question?
What's the question? Say it again.
Come on. You're not going to. You asked the question. You asked your own question. You asked the question. Can you explain what it means?
Read it out again.
Wait, you've made me get up and use my yellow shoes. Oh, who asked the bloody question? Steve, did you ask the question?
Read the question.
So a Dorothy Dix from someone dodgy. Wait, this gentleman over here apparently is owning the question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, James is willing to explain the question.
May not have asked the question.
Hello, everyone. So I didn't ask the question, but I know where it came from. So we're listening to the Finn podcast this morning, and that was focusing on the nuclear debate. It was interesting. It was probably a bit one-sided on the opposite side. But one of the things that they alluded to is the CSIRO costing for nuclear in Australia, which was $250 to $350 a megawatt hour. That's the basis for the question.
So the capital.
Yeah. So
no, in terms of levelised cost of energy.
I have a crack at this one as long as it's not recording. Fenix CRC had a great speaker today who would be able to answer it, who's sort of gone through the whole gen cost report and the whole system cost that's been used to generate that from the CSIRO thing. My understanding is they've basically taken the highest cost SMR reactor construction, which is the NuScale case that obviously fell over recently in the US. They've taken that, they've used that cost to extrapolated it for all of the coal power stations that the Liberal government or Liberal opposition have said that they can replace with nuclear, and have said this is how much it will cost as a total cost. I think it was $387 billion as a total cost to replace the East Coast coal fleet with that NuScale example. If you look at Westinghouse's example, their target for an SMR, an AP300, which is the equivalent to that NuScale reactor, so 300 megawatt reactor, they're targeting $1 billion for one reactor, but obviously they haven't produced one yet. And like every capital project at the moment, if you pick 80% of the capital projects, they're all having cost overruns. So yeah, it's the environment we're in at the moment.
Government ones have even more cost overrun.
Yeah.
Question. What skills will be needed to support uranium mining in WA? So what skills do we need people to have? Probably
touch base on that previous question as well around the environmental impacts to uranium mining. So uranium somehow falls in this special category, but really it's not any different to any mine processing facility in WA. in the mineral sands industry in Western Australia already have elevated uranium radiation. They have thorium, and they have to manage those impacts just as we would manage them in a uranium operation. So the skills are actually very transferable to our world-class mining industry that we have here. The one area that I know that we're sort of lacking and there is a shortage of is radiation safety officers. Mineral sands operation are already experiencing a shortage with that. So it's something we'll have to manage, train people up as we get things going. Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Oh, we're pretty good in Namibia.
Good.
People everywhere.
You got everywhere. Okay, great. Opportunities in WA for an emerging uranium industry.
Yeah, as I alluded to, very similar to most mining operations that have processing facilities as well. We'll be constructing camps, we'll be bringing in chemical, bringing in materials, and the plan for all of West Australia's uranium mines is to process on site to yellowcake and then to transport out of the Port of Adelaide, which is a long history of exporting uranium. And for an example of why you're going out of Adelaide, uranium, Uliri, which would be WA's biggest operation, we'd expect 1.5 trucks per week on average of yellowcake to go to Adelaide. So the volume of material that is actually exported, because it is so energy dense, is very little. Yeah.
How plausible do you think it is, and we've got about 6 minutes left, so how plausible do you think it is for nuclear to become a fundamental part of the energy mix in Australia? Quoting Finkel Nuclear, could not be built by 2040 in Australia. So is it a post-2040 solution?
Yeah, can't see it being before 2040. I would agree, but if we look at our 2030 targets and what the government want to build by 2030 to meet those targets, well, all those assets will be coming to their end of life by 2050. So if we can remove the ban now, we can properly consider the role of nuclear and where it might fit in, then by 2050, we might be able to have a better opportunity and better chance to look at it.
But what you're saying is it depends which government's in power, which party's in power. As to if Labor's in power, we know we've got no chance. Liberal coalition, as I hear, are taking it to the next federal election, as you point out.
The only other point to note is Labor governments, similar Labor governments around the world, are pro-nuclear. We've got Green parties around the world that are going pro-nuclear because they just realise it has to be part of the mix. So there's hope still.
This question, I'm not sure, is it uranium for power generation? Is that what we're here talking about?
Yeah, so I think it's 98% of all uranium's used for power generation. Might even be 99%. There's 1% more that's used for creating medical isotopes, which is out of ANSTO reactor. The ANSTO in Lucas Heights, they produce 25% of the world's cancer diagnostic and treatment medicine in the world.
I was at a conference in Namibia about 7 years ago, and this doctor got up and spoke, and he said, "You're probably wondering why I'm here." We're going, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you are very important to our industry, right? You produce uranium, which we use to save people's lives, right?" So it was actually a fascinating talk, actually. I quite enjoyed it.
And again, there are more of us who are needing that treatment as well. There are more of us needing that treatment, more of us needing it, sadly. What steps, gentlemen, are being taken by both your companies in legalising nuclear power generation in Australia?
Bugger all from us. Sorry to say. Sorry, the organisers won't be happy with that. But look,
you're basically happy to ride off his coattails.
The thing is, 3 or 4 years ago, we had 3 people in the company. Now we've grown, right? But where energy's being put into exploration in Namibia and the Northern Territory, we know that Western Australia is a bit of a holding pattern. we don't have the resources, both financially or personnel, to push governments. There's other people doing that. Now, I'm happy to sit behind Tim and say, good on you, keep going. But, you know, it's
doing bugger all as well.
It's it is, and you know you're bashing your head up against a brick wall. But you know, there's so much for a small company like us to do.
Is this just a conversation that's going to keep going around, or is who's actually doing something to try and change it?
There's people working on this, and we need the industry bodies, OSM, Minerals Council, right, Energy Club, everybody else working on this. This is what they need to be doing. They need to be supporting. You can't leave it just to individual companies, right? It's got to be a consortium to go forward and do this, not just individuals.
Yeah, we're a member of the Minerals Council, and they're sort of heading up Australia's effort, I suppose, in putting out the facts, putting the case forward. They've been doing it for a number of years now. There's obviously a lot more players that have joined the song, but from a Cameco perspective, our core business is mining uranium. We only recently acquired Westinghouse, but we've invested $1 billion into Western Australia, and we're keen to see a return on that. So that's our core focus here in Australia.
$1 billion already.
Yeah.
Wow. How much would it take you to build Yuliri into a mine?
Not sure yet. We have to do some more feasibility work.
All right. 4 minutes past 7, so we're going to wrap it up. I know there's still a number of questions on Menti, but we'll wrap it up here. And the great thing is that this will be an ongoing series. So 2 quick questions to end up with, lads. Tim, where should someone go and find out more information besides the next one of these?
Yeah, as I alluded to, Mineral Council's produced some great material. Sort of had 3 or 4 publications now. The last one, which we haven't even touched on, which hopefully we get to in a future event, is around industrial heat and how we're going to decarbonise the industrial heat sector, which is about 20% of Australia's emissions, and the role that nuclear could play in achieving that. And then if people want to find out more about radiation impacts or effects, I would put them onto the UNSCEAR website, which is the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation. I think I got that right. Interestingly, the head of our PANZA used to be the chair of that committee, so we've got some, again, great experience in Australia. But they've published all the figures that Jerry Thomas referred to around impacts out of Chernobyl, impacts out of Fukushima. And then if you're just interested in nuclear power, there's been a really good recent documentary called Nuclear Now, which I watched on a Qantas flight, I believe. Hopefully they're still showing it. Not sure how you can access it, but if you look at Nuclear
Pandora's
Now.
Promise is also a good one.
Yeah.
Pandora's Promise.
It's a little bit outdated, like your Warren Buffett comments, but quotes, but anyway.
Look how old I am.
Don't knock experience, Timothy. All right, Murray, where are we going to be in 10 years?
Where are we going to be in 10 years, Chrissy?
Doesn't say where do you think, where are we going to be in 10 years?
You're talking about you and I?
Yeah, you.
Oh, didn't you?
You do it.
No,
No, you're married, 27 years, no hair.
26. We will still be fighting with the woke people in Australia. Go woke, go broke, I would say. The woke community are having too much to say, so it'll depend on which government's in power. But I'm expecting in 10 years' time the nuclear ban's lifted, the work that Tim's doing and others. Jonathan Fisher from Cauldron is doing a fantastic job. But I think it might take industry moving offshore to a carbon-emitting country like China, that they may even wake up that we're losing industry by being woke. So that's what I say: go woke, go broke. You know, we can't have an industry here that relies on baseload power, and we don't have it, right? And that's where we're headed. So it really depends on. I think we've concluded it depends on the party in power, right? And if we can shut the wokeness up, and if we can get that nuclear ban lifted.
There's a little bit of good in the wokeness. A little bit. If you can take the little bits.
Bit of what?
No, if you can take little bits of good from different places and stick them all
I
together.
didn't say it was all bad.
Yeah, no, that's the frustrating thing, is that some of the stuff that actually say is quite good, and then there's other stuff like this and everything. Just be educated. Educate yourself is not hard. Following what other people are saying, like some sort of a limb, off the side of the cliff, is not helping anyone at this point in time. The more conversations I have when we do these resources look at you down there, sitting down there, tapping your head. The more conversations I have, I used to work with Stockhead as well. You know, we go out and we do these big resources conferences and you see people make lithium and cobalt and copper and you're like, we're making a lot of money for shareholders with these resources. You can make a lot of money because we're having to dig up so much more to power the future. Whereas with uranium, we're not having to dig up quite as much to provide this source of power, this clean source of power. Someone needs to have a sensible outcome. But it is now 7:05, so I will be quiet, which is a good idea. I'm looking at our people in charge. They're both looking at me, both our ladies, saying, yes, be quiet, Christina. We've paid for another 55 minutes of drinks and food and the opportunity to network, and we'd like to do that as well. But I think this is a really important start to the discussion. There was one question that came up, and that is talking about where we put the waste. But let's leave that for the next time we have this discussion. Let's leave this for the next part of the journey and the educational process. Would you please thank our two guests, everyone? Yeah. And Murray, thank you all of you for your attendance as well. If you can, we've got another slide that we're going to pop up. And this is part of what we need you to do as well. So if you can please pick up your phones, and until you've picked up your phone, you've taken a picture of it, I'm going to hold our drink staff to the side. So take a picture of this one, and the only way that we can make events like these better for you is using your constructive feedback. So any constructive feedback you can give us, we can thereby develop this into an even better series for you to enjoy. So if you can do that for us. Did you actually put something in, or did you just put it up so that you placated me a little bit? No, I'm a mother of four. I'll come and find you. I will hunt you down. So please give us some legitimate feedback, things that you would like to see, and perhaps the next part of the conversation that you would like to have about nuclear energy and uranium. Can you please put your hands together for our sponsors again, Far Energy and the Minerals Council of Australia? Thank you very much for coming on board. We hope you enjoy the conversations this evening as well. And I think that's about it. I'm just going to double check with the team at the back. Cass, is that all good? Oh, great. So I can release you all. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along today. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Sundowner. Thank you.
So your microphone was pretty effective. Your mic.